Our next guest is from St. Louis. And for my audience, I don't need to say anything else, but with me now is Mark. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm very good, Donna. Thank you. Great to be here.
Good. So for the last 17 years I've had this show, people know a few things about me. They know I grew up in St. Louis. They know I sang in the Futures of America singing group. They know that I love toasted ravioli. But we got a chance to recently meet, and I was so excited to know that you're from my same hometown.
That's great. I love to meet people from my hometown. I have two hometowns, one in St. Louis and where I was born in Detroit, Michigan.
Yes, and I was telling you, my son's at UMich, right?
Correct.
So we just instantly hit it off. Plus, we're both Geminis, and I mean, it's just so much like chemistry between the two of us. But today, I want to celebrate something that is your new baby. What is this beautiful, wonderful book that I have right here?
Oh, this is my first book that I've published. It's with Rizzoli. It's called The Battle of Versailles, the Fashion Showdown of 1973, which is about the most famous fashion show, literally in the history of fashion shows ever in the world, that took place 52 years ago, 51 and a half years ago, at the Palace of Versailles.
One of the things that I love about your book is that it's a piece of fashion in itself, right? The hardcover, the gold leaf, it's gorgeous. Why did you decide to put in this much detail and lots of gorgeous photos?
It's funny, I've never been a fan, but maybe a little bit more now, of coffee table books. Because coffee table books sometimes just mean that you buy them, you put them on the coffee table, and once a year, if that, you look at them. And so I've sort of gone against that. But because I had such rich material from not only Bill Cunningham, but the French version of Bill Cunningham is a great photographer named Jean Lucier, who's 84 years old, who I was just with in Paris, in an amazing opening in Paris. And they were the only two that really covered the Battle of Versailles, which is the rehearsals and the show and the dinners before. They were the only two that covered it more than anyone. And no one's ever seen 95% of these pictures in the book.
It's an amazing treasure. So exciting. And they were shooting it with like a very small, tiny little camera.
Yes.
It wasn't like the cameras you see today when the photographers got these like gigantic lenses, right?
No, and Jean-Louis was more
Yes.
a photographer. Bill was always thought of himself as a documentarian. He just had a camera that was a half frame and you could shoot double pictures. He was just snapping away. But somehow now, 50 years later, when you put them and you lay them out and you scan them really well, it creates a really great, beautiful imagery that's more alive than just some fancy Scribnensky or Annie Leibovitz kind of photograph.
And how did this come to you? How did this beautiful, glorious thing like connect with you?
4 years ago, I released my first documentary called The Times of Bill Cunningham that initially launched in my hometown of Huntington at the Cinema Arts Center. And it did really well. It was my first film, and Sarah Jessica Parker narrated. It's about Bill Cunningham. And came out here in Huntington, did really well in New York and LA. Was going to open in 200 theaters around the country the same week that the world closed, COVID. Right? Way worse things happened to people than my movie not closing, but it was my sort of personal thing. And so I took all the rights back, and I said, you know what, just sit with it, let life happen, and go on from there. One morning, I read a story about the 50th anniversary of Versailles, and I'm looking, and I'm an early riser, as are you, Donna. And I was looking at my computer about how many images from the 3 million images that Bill Cunningham has in his archive of what I had with Versailles. And then I thought, wow, I have all these pictures. And then I saw the other book called The Battle of Versailles, which is much more text-driven, because Bill wouldn't give them any pictures. And I saw all these pictures, and then I dug deeper, and I saw this 8-page diary that Bill wrote about Versailles in a very pointed way. And I thought, wow, this is a book. So rather than doing a PDF pitch, which is what you normally do for publishers, I did a 7-minute sizzle video, and I sent it to Rizzoli, and 2 days later, they said, we're going to make this book.
That's so exciting. You started out in television. You also started out with like Lee Strasberg. So tell me about those early days that you started working you were HSN and Fox, and you were everywhere.
I went to when I graduated high school in St. Louis at Parkway North Senior High. I then went to Los Angeles, and the only way I could leave my house with my family was to register in a college, which was kind of a misnomer because I couldn't afford to go to college anyway. So I registered at California Institute of the Arts, never even saw the campus. Got to LA, was working as a receptionist at the Beverly Sunset Medical Plaza on Sunset and Doheny, like right out of an old movie. And I was there, and then somebody told me to go to this domestic agency where you get maids and butlers called Rennie's of Beverly Hills. I went there, and Lee Strasberg's wife called 4 days later and said, we're looking for a housekeeper. I said, well, I don't really want to be a housekeeper. I could be a butler. and they looked for an assistant for Lee. And so I was 17 out of high school. I said that
Wow.
I was 21. I had gone to school at Webster College, our community college in Missouri. In those days, there was no Google checking and all that. And so I did. I wore glasses that had no prescription in them, so I could look older. I met Lee Strasberg, who's the method man, who taught everybody: Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Marilyn Monroe, Paul Newman.
My
And I met him,
goodness.
and he hired me, and I did that. That was my college for 3 years.
What a wonderful, extraordinary thing that was, right? I mean, like you just walked into it, but then you made it your own.
I really walked into it, and like all of those things. Well, not like all of those things. I worked 24 hours a day,
Yes.
7 days a week. I lived with them. Lee was 75. His kids were 7 and 9, and his wife was 40. And so I'm coming from meat and potato Midwestern family. And I'm living with this insane, great family. And I lived in the apartment in New York where everything, my headboard was Marilyn Monroe's headboard, because Lee Strasberg inherited all of her personal estate. And suddenly all of these things, which at 17 you don't realize because you're 17 and you're just trying to like get by. But it
So
was pretty
exciting.
amazing.
Extraordinary. So your journey is not even over yet. I mean, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like that in itself could have been like the claim to fame coming from St. Louis, like to be able to have that type of a job, right? That could have been like, okay, I'm done. But then what did you do after that?
So then I left that. After 3 years, when you become part of a family, an employee, you get, and you aspire to want to be like the other people that you're meeting.
Okay.
They're amazing directors and creative people. And so I left, and I completely ran out of money. And a woman who I was, when I did some temporary acting classes at the Strasberg Institute, we were doing a scene from The Graduate. And that's for a nighttime kind of show. But we were doing a scene from The Graduate, and when I left Strasberg, I said to the woman, Lee, I need a job, and I have no more money. So I walked from 73rd and Broadway to 38th and Broadway, because I had no money for the subway. I started there. She gave me $50, and I started in the mailroom. It was a publishing company that published trends for the fashion world. And I figured out how to do it. I did learned how to do marketing. I became the head of marketing and went all over Europe to sell these subscriptions. I was trying to sell a woman named Laurie Mallet, who was partners with a great, great designer named Willie Smith. And Willie was one of the first real, true, successful black designers who had a company called Willie Wear. And she wouldn't buy the prescription or the subscription, but she wanted me to come join the company. So I did. I became the head of PR and marketing for that for 7 years, and it was among the greatest 7 years I've had, and an experience that is soon going to be a scripted movie based on the life of Willie Smith. And there's a great Instagram page that I started 5 years ago called Remember Willie Smith, and it's really it's great. And he died of AIDS in 1987, and it's about time that he gets recognized.
Lovely. I like that you are a champion for all these different things. It seems to me that you get a challenge and then you face it head on, and then you go to the next thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing, right?
Yes, I think that in the end, it's much more about opportunity and curiosity than it is about some sort of strategy. There is no strategy to how my life has evolved, and I'm not unhappy with that. Certain people need to have a real sort of structure. I am not structured in the least. And so these opportunities, as they come along, when Willie passed away, Fox Television was a startup. And I met through a series of people, the man who created Fox Television named Barry Diller. And he wanted me to do, they hired me to do a 3-minute segment called Fox Style News. They were just starting Fox Sporting News, Fox Entertainment News, before Fox News, just to be clear. It was just Fox, WNYW, and all their local stations. And I was doing a story about Stephen Meisel, a great photographer who had just done a book about Madonna. And I interviewed Liza Minnelli, who's written the foreword for this book, The 6 Degrees is Insane. And I was working on the piece. In the middle of that, Barry Diller comes into Fox in New York, and when he came in, the world knew he came in, and it was right in the middle of the Kuwait War, and all these in the news director's office, and all these monitors are playing the war, and Barry says to me, "I want to see the piece." I said, "Well, it's not finished yet." He said, "Well, I want to see it anyways," and I said, "Well, it's not finished." He said, "Well, show me the piece." So you showed him the piece, and he liked it. It was sort of half done. And he goes, "Great, let's do this." And I said, "Well, can I finish the piece?" He goes, "Yes, finish the piece, And so I said, okay, I'm going to finish it. And then they hired me, and I started producing these segments, 3 or 4 news segments a week, primarily on style. And then I covered the John Gotti trials for a couple of years, which was ironic because Lee Strasberg played Hyman Roth in Godfather Part 2. So that's a whole nother trail of my life.
I mean, Mark, like you are, so you see where I'm going with this, right? You have had an incredible story and it's still building and it keeps continuing to go. I find your life fascinating. I do. I think your journey
Thank
is
you very much.
fascinating.
Thank you very much. I'm grateful. I'm mindful that I've been married for 32 years and my son is 16 of the insanity that I sometimes cause in those kind of scenarios. But I think they all by this time they get it, and you obviously you recognize what's most important in life, like many people these days in this crazy world that we live in. But it is the opportunity that come along. One day after being at Fox for 2 years. It's announced that, we took a secret trip on a helicopter with Barry Diller and his wife, Diane von Furstenberg, the fashion designer. We took a helicopter from the east side of New York, wouldn't tell me where we were going. He said, just meet me at the heliport at 7 o'clock. He was like that. So we were take off, and I said, are you going to tell me where we're going? So suddenly we're in Pennsylvania, and we're flying over like Amish country, and the people were like holding their hats down because the helicopter was so low. And we landed at QVC, which was in Westchester, Pennsylvania. Then I had no idea why we were there. 2 weeks later, he announces he's quitting Fox as the creator of Fox under Rupert Murdoch, and he was going to become the CEO of QVC. Amazing. So I joined QVC. A year later, I ran the broadcasting group. And there was Joan Rivers and Richard Simmons and Suzanne Summers and all those insanely great, wonderful, crazy characters that were a part of this dollars per minute business as opposed to television advertising. And they were on fire. They were making money hand over fist. And it's where, ironically, I discovered Joy Mangano, our fellow Long Islander who was selling the Miracle Mop and the Rolly kit, which is this thing, and that's how that sort of began. And that began what I thought was going to be 6 months in the TV shopping business, ended up being 16 years.
And as we both know, but I don't think my audience knows, when they did her masterclass, she filmed it here. And we turned this into the backstage of where you once were. I mean, it's the serendipity and the craziness of it all. Like people would be like, yeah, right, that happened. But it's all kind of somehow
You
connected,
want to see
right?
a show, Donna, that will put Joy Mangano, or put her here and I'll sit over there. And
It'll be a show.
And you have no idea.
But Bradley Cooper did play you in Joy, correct?
He did,
Yeah,
he did.
that's awesome.
And my wife hates, because first of all, I've never seen the movie. If you can believe it, I've never seen it. But boy, you can make sure that I get that into every conversation.
Yes, just that
for
little
the first
ta-da,
time. That
Bradley Cooper. He's so
wouldn't?
talented. I know, who wouldn't? You have something called Seize the Day. What is that?
So I just launched it 2 weeks ago as a new company. My son Jack named it. I said, Jack, we need something new. I've got this book. I've got 3 more books now I'm doing, all these movie projects. We need a new name for the company. And he came up with it. And it wasn't AI, it was just my son, Seize the Day Media, Carpe Diem, and that's what it is. So it's about my books. It's about a bunch of documentaries I'm doing. I'm working with Netflix on turning this into a movie with some really, really big people, which is really where you can leverage doing a book. A book is a book. They're passion projects that you don't make a whole lot of money on, but boy, you can leverage them in really exciting ways.
And talk about name dropping. So Ted Sarandos had been on my show because he won the Brandon Tartikoff Award at NATBE, and it was right when I was kind of starting out in a way. So he says to me, he goes, well, where's it distributed? I wish I would have said, I'd love for you to do talk shows on Netflix, right? But that didn't come up at the moment. But I often think about how great he is too. I love these trailblazers that open up these opportunities, right? Speaking of that, you opened up an opportunity for many people in our town when you decided to purchase the sleigh from Elf. Can we talk about that? That's kind of cool.
So another serendipitous moment. We moved back from Tampa after I left, as I became the CEO of the Home Shopping Network. We moved to Long Island. We bought a house in Huntington. And a week later, the movie Elf came out, and my wife and I went to see it. We love Christmas. Then we saw it again, and then literally 2 days later, I think in the New York Post had the story that they were auctioning off some props from the movie, and early online auctions. I didn't know anything about them. eBay was just kind of happening. So I went on the site and I bid on I thought it was going to be like syrup or a costume, and it was the sleigh. And I paid no attention to the details. I bid $500. I didn't know that it takes two weeks to do an auction and that everybody waits till the last hour to outbid you. And so there I was at the last hour, and I'm pretty competitive. And everybody kept outbidding me, and I said, I'm not going to lose this darn thing. And so by the end, I won. I won the auction for $12,000.
Ta-da!
And then I look at the details, and it says it weighs 1 ton. It's 18 feet long and 9 feet wide. Yes, it has the clausometer and the jet engine, but it was also, I was responsible for the transportation and delivery, which is at the Grove shopping center in Los Angeles. So I had to spend another $12,000
to get it across
to ship
the
it
country.
back across the country to my front lawn. We had a Christmas party, invited 10 to the left, 10 to the right. It was a big deal. I said, now what do we do with the sleigh? I gave it to the local fire department in Hale site at the end of my street. And I said, it's yours forever as long as you take care of it and show it love. And it's sort of like a Chris Craft Woody boat. And they have done a miraculous job at maintaining it.
And it's so much fun. And that's where I did my holiday card from this year. So much excitement. I'm so happy to have you here. I could talk to you for we could just do an hour and a half of this. But let's talk about one more time, where can somebody get this beautiful book?
So you can buy this book anywhere you buy, anything, where you buy your toothpaste.
Okay.
I don't have to exactly say where it is because
But
they
that's
want
where
you
it's
to do
at.
it. But yeah, you
Yes.
just put in the name Bozek, and
And
that's
it's gonna
the only
you're
thing
gonna
that I
find it.
have on any of those websites
So exciting.
is this book.
Congratulations. I'm
Thank
so
you.
happy for you. I do truly, truly appreciate you. It's really nice to have you here, Mark. And I hope that, maybe you'll bring, maybe this could be the production office of your next big thing.
You can bet.
Okay.
That is think local, act global. I'm a big, big fan of community and all of those things, and recognizing true artists and helping them work.
And we're also both part of Made in Huntington, the film festival.
Yes,
right?
indeed. Can't wait.
It launches this year.
I can't wait. It's going to be really
The inaugural
exciting,
year.
and people have no idea the talent that we have in our community.
Oh, we have a lot. Nice to have you here.
Thank you, Donna.
Thanks so much,
Thank
Mark.
you very much.
There you go. Well, you'll be seeing a lot of Mark Bozek, but please go to his website, go to his Instagram, follow him, buy the book, drink a martini. I don't know, but enjoy your life. Thanks for watching.